Do you put wedges under here too?
So they're in the board, or on the button.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I do that too. I have the very first version of this foot. There, try that, and just see if it softened it at all.
Oh, yeah.
Watch each other, I'd say, even for frostbite, like especially with prosthetic legs, like my legs would get frozen to the bone.
We're definitely gonna try and go find some steep stuff. Steep stuff and the deep stuff is the good stuff.
We softened Brett's back foot because, and I think you'll notice a difference with that because it'll allow you to like have your knee a little bit more bent when you need to. Have fun, ride for me.
Yeah, we're gonna ride for you today. We're gonna miss you. Yeah. Oh, baby. You'll get out there soon.
Yeah. All right, guys. Fun. Good day.
Cool.
Going through everything that I've gone through, your life doesn't go back to being the same. Anything can happen at any time. But really, it wasn't until I lost my legs that I found myself.
The most extraordinary lives follow undefined paths. To find your voice, you may need to journey into the unknown. I'm Carlos Watson, editor of OZY, and these are Defining Moments.
What are you doing?
I'm
Enjoying the
gazing into the distant yonder. It's like I haven't even seen my snowboard legs until today.
Right.
Which is crazy, like 10 months later. I mean, the beginning of last year, I was here, you know, riding every day.
Yeah.
It's just when I got injured and everything came to a halt. You've taken a lot on,
Thanks.
seriously.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, babe.
Oh, thanks. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. Thanks.
I got it. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
How are you liking the snow?
That's real stuff. I'm coming from
It's,
California.
I know. Welcome
Yeah.
to snowy Colorado.
Amy, it's interesting. I was in a very bad car accident when I was 11.
Oh, wow.
And used crutches for 3 years.
Really?
And so it's interesting seeing you use crutches reminds me of that time because at the time they told me that I would never walk again.
I'm new to crutches.
Oh, are you? Okay.
I thought this would be like, I'm on crutches for a month, and it's been 10 months. And really, for the first time in my life, after even having prosthetic legs for 20 years, it was the first time that I ever felt disabled. I'm gonna lose this. This year has been the toughest year of my life because I have a major injury that I haven't had a lot of control over. For the second time in my life, I'm learning to walk again. First thing that I'm gonna do when I'm on my own 2 feet again is dance with my husband.
Were you a dancer even before?
No.
As a kid growing up?
I wouldn't consider myself a dancer at all, but I love dancing with my friends.
Interesting. And so what were you like as a kid?
I think I just had more of like an adventurous side. I loved riding my bike in the mud. But at the same time, I played with dolls. I grew up skiing a little bit. I wasn't very good at it though. I grew up in Las Vegas, but my family loved nature. We loved camping, being in the outdoors.
She was adventurous. She loved to get in my toolbox.
She was a tomboy. Just very adventuresome, imaginative.
I loved art. I loved painting. I loved drawing.
You were one of the artsy kids.
I was. And that's really what introduced me to snowboarding. A group of guys that I met who were artists. They all took me snowboarding one day and I fell in love with it. And I knew that it would be something that I would do for the rest of my life.
Amy found this passion finally, and so we just went with it.
What happens after you graduate? What were you thinking about doing?
I still didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I decided to go to massage school. We did research to figure out what the best massage school was, and we saw that it was in Utah. And I thought, well, I can snowboard and also go to school, and that's perfect.
It was about an 8-month course. And then she came home, got hired. 3 months after she started working, that's when her life changed. She came home from work one day not feeling good.
I remember my mom called and to check on me, and I told her, I said, Mom, I feel like I'm dying.
Amy also has this wonderful dramatic side to her. And I couldn't help but think, well, she's just being a little dramatic.
And when I got off the phone with her, put my feet on the floor, and I couldn't feel them. And so when I looked at them, I saw that they were purple. And then I glanced at my hands, and I saw that my hands were purple. I just realized in that moment, I was so sick.
I get a phone call from a nurse from ICU. How far away are you? Your daughter is gravely ill. And I'm like, gravely ill? I just left her this morning. She just had the flu.
My blood pressure had crashed. I was in septic shock. I remember this one nurse, her name was Penny. She had tears going down her face, and she asked the doctor, why can't I find a vein? And he said, because she's in cardiac arrest. I heard the nurse call my parents and say, we don't know what she has, but she has maybe 2 hours left to live.
And as soon as I walked into the ICU and saw her, and she looks at me and she says, Mom, what have I got myself into? It took about 3 days before the culture got back, and the diagnosis was meningococcal meningitis, which in layman's terms is bacterial meningitis. Where she got it, nobody knows.
I was internally bleeding. They needed to put me into an induced coma.
She says, Daddy, am I going to die? I said, don't worry, sweetie, I'm not going to let you die. I thought that was the last time that I would talk to my daughter. And then, of course, then this saga began. Her organs started to fail.
Sure enough, her spleen was more than double its size. Critical care doctor on staff, that was Dr. Abby.
The curtain was like half open, and I happened to see her there. So she was in a very critical state. It's not very common to see a young girl in a shocky state. I went to the nurse, and I said she belongs in the ICU, not in the emergency room. So at that time, she was not fit for surgery because the blood count was low, and no surgeon will touch her because she'll bleed to death.
When he first saw me in the emergency room, he actually went and told my parents, I don't think she's going to survive.
So that's why the last rites were given to Amy at that time. The parents were crying. I just hugged them, and we all cried together. There comes a point when you can't do anything, and so we had to give up.
And he left.
I was very, very disturbed. I felt sort of I call it the inner voice, telling me, go back, go back. When I reached home, I didn't even open the garage. Something made me turn the car all the way back. And this time I decided I had to do something. I call it the divine intervention. It's a message from the cosmos. I want to take her to surgery and see if I can take the spleen out and then give some blood products to stop the bleeding. Otherwise, she's going to be gone.
I was given less than a 2% chance of living. Even though I was under anesthesia, you know, they have your eyes taped closed and everything, I remember being in that surgery. And I remember Dr. Abby next to me. I remember him saying, Amy, whatever it is you believe in, think about that now. I thought, I believe in love. And all of a sudden, I felt my last heartbeat, and it was so powerful, and it took my breath away. Suddenly, everything just went quiet. I was in a whole different environment, but I saw enough of a light that I could see 3 silhouettes standing in front of me, and they were saying, you can come with us, or you can stay.
Where were you?
I mean, I think I was in the space of crossing over. And I was like, no, I am not ready to go. I haven't lived my life yet. I haven't fallen in love yet.
And I removed the spleen and tied off the blood vessels so that stopped the bleeding.
Dr. Abby saved her life.
When I came out of the coma, that was a real defining moment for me.
In the healing phase, while she was healing, her feet was far too gone.
Her feet, at that point in time, had already turned black. I spent hours massaging her feet, just trying to bring life back into them.
The doctor had come in and he said, if we don't amputate your legs here today, and he pointed to my ankle, he said, we're gonna have to amputate up here tomorrow. And he pointed to my thigh. And I was like, let's do it.
She knew her feet weren't going to do her any good. She was ready to move on. They'll be going to recovery, and Amy looks at us and she says, are they gone? I said, yeah, they're gone. She said, good.
With the courageous decision to remove her lower legs, Amy made it clear that she wasn't going to fear her new reality, but instead, she would embrace it.
After losing my legs, I was dealing with so much. I was, I think, 83 pounds. I had been laying in a hospital bed, but I was ready to go. I remember when my prosthetist walked into the room with my first set of legs. They certainly weren't like these cool robotic bionic legs, just kind of bolted together with this rubber foot that's been painted like a, you know, a flesh color. I thought, am I going to be able to snowboard again?
Amy, what's it feel like? Does it hurt, honey?
I saw that you and your dad dancing almost as soon as you had the ability to get back up.
We were actually practicing for my sister's wedding, and so we thought, well, can I do it? I don't know. And I said, turn on the music, and put my legs on and stood up and realized that my feet did what I wanted them to do. I really danced before I walked.
It was a real breakthrough.
I thought, okay, if I can dance, I can walk. If I can walk, I can snowboard. I tried snowboarding 5 or 6 months after getting my first pair of prosthetics. My ankles wouldn't bend. I fell, my leg came off, and went flying down the mountain with my snowboard. But I thought, okay, if I can figure out a way to get my ankles to move the way I need them to, then maybe I can do this again. And so I went on a mission. I called every adaptive ski school in the country and said, do you know anybody with a prosthetic leg who snowboards? Do you know if there's any snowboard feet out there? And I got no information at all. I went to my prosthetist. Together, we basically just kind of grabbed a few different parts and pieces and put them together. Like, we took this ankle from one foot, turned it backwards so it would bend a certain way. You know, I think I chopped the toes off to fit them in my boot, and I needed more knee bend, so I took these heel lifts and just used duct tape and duct taped them to my feet. I'm used to trying to figure out how to do things and how to get my legs to do things. So I think I've kind of become my own engineer in a way, thinking of what's not out there and what do I need to create so that it is.
There was one time when I asked her, Amy, how are you going to do that? And she looked at me like I had 3 heads. And it was the last time that I ever asked her that question.
I went up and tried to snowboard in them, and they worked. So when I was in the hospital, my kidneys failed right away. And they came back a little bit, but not enough to live a full life. So about 1.5 years after losing my legs, I had to have a kidney transplant. I remember just being on my knees, you know, like just crying, like I've been through so much already. I was really torn for a little bit because I was thinking, am I going to be able to really snowboard again if I'm having a kidney transplant? But then I found out that my dad was a perfect match.
I was actually glad that I was such a close match. I didn't even think twice about it.
I remember before we got wheeled into the operating room, he gave me a kiss on the forehead and he said, okay, if you ever drink again, you can only drink the best. And I was like, well, what's that? And he said, Crown Royal. I was like, okay, Dad. So now, actually, my dad and I, on the anniversary of our kidney transplant, we take a shot of Crown Royal. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the kidney that my dad gave me. It has been the most amazing gift of my life.
Smooth.
Thanks, Dad,
There's.
Thanks
for
for
everything.
giving her a kidney, bud.
I'll take a sip.
That's
Oh, I thought you had all of
it.
it. There's a sip.
And thank you, babe,
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Amy was actually in a bar that was called the Black Whale. She was absolutely stunning, so I wanted to talk to her.
I saw this guy playing pool across the bar, and he was so cute. I still wasn't completely comfortable with my situation. I was still like overcoming the trauma of everything I went through, and I just thought, well, if he wants to come talk to me, he can come talk to me.
When I saw her with her group and realized that it was an adaptive group of snowboarders, I went over and said hi and introduced myself.
That was really brave because I was sitting with someone who had a prosthetic arm, someone who is blind and a prosthetic leg, 2 people in wheelchairs. I think, sometimes people don't always know how to step into a situation like that. He had this hat on that had a skateboard logo on it, and I had the exact same sticker on my leg.
So at some point, she pulled up her pant leg and she was like, oh, check me out, I got the same brand on. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And then she pulled up the other pant leg and I was just blown away. My reaction really wasn't about what I was looking at, something a bit deeper. You could tell that she had a really kind heart. We've been married for 3 years, but together for going on to 17. Yeah, I love Amy a ton. She means the world to me.
Throughout her struggles, Amy could always count on her family. But in Daniel, she found a true soulmate, and together they would forge a life of purpose.
Do you know your stance?
I do. It's 19 and a half.
All right, let me just make sure.
What do I also have to change when I'm writing on powder today?
I mean, this is what's interesting is the board itself does a lot of the work. So really, you might not have to lean back because it might just pitch you back, which is really nice. We started an organization in 2005 called Adaptive Action Sports. It's been like our baby. We create opportunities for athletes with disabilities to be able to follow their dreams and snowboard. We go out with them and teach them not only like the skills to be an incredible athlete, but when it comes to figuring out what kind of equipment they need. All the stuff that I learned myself, and I have a place to turn around and share that.
We realized that the sport was also potentially a new Paralympic sport.
And snowboarding wasn't in the Paralympics. Daniel and I together had to knock down doors.
The year of the Paralympic Games, we had submitted everything and we're waiting for the news back on whether we were going to attend, and it came back that we weren't. We were all pretty depressed, to be honest. I was fortunate enough to create a relationship with somebody at ESPN, and I convinced them, let's put an adaptive border cross race into the ESPN X Games. It kind of pushed it into the mainstream eye a little bit. We got a word about a month later that we were in the Paralympic Games in Russia. She still had to qualify.
I never even thought about being in the Olympics or anything like that. I decided to become an athlete at 30 years old.
The way that she trained, the way that she ate, she went from somebody who's passionate about competition to an absolute athlete.
I think Daniel saw the worst of me. I'm just like a mad woman trying to figure out a way to do what I know I can do.
In the lead up to the games, things were so intense. She put a lot of pressure on herself to perform. There was definitely hard times for us as far as our relationship goes.
Sochi was really intense. I think it was really intense for Daniel as well. I ended up being the first female to bring home a bronze medal in Paralympic snowboarding. And I was proud of that. You know, that was a gold medal to me.
Everything kind of came together in that moment for her.
All of a sudden, like, I was on billboards and cereal boxes and magazines. I did Dancing with the Stars. I was getting a lot of media attention and requests. I was terrified to share my story at first. I would get emotional, and I learned that that's okay. I spoke at a high school, and it just so happened that one of the organizers for the TED conference was sitting in the audience, and my next invite was to speak on the TED stage.
But if you asked me today if I would ever want to change my situation, I would have to say no. Because my legs haven't disabled me. If anything, they've enabled me.
Suddenly, I was getting invited to speak, you know, for huge corporations. It was like at the peak of my career. And then bam, all of a sudden, I was standing on stage and I felt this cramp in my calf, which was incredibly painful. Within 2 days, I was in the emergency room where I was diagnosed with a massive blood clot from my hip down every artery of my left leg. Like, why do I have to go through something so major again? Like, why? Why do I have to go through this? When I was in the emergency room and they told me I had a blood clot down every artery of my left leg. If you have a blood clot in your artery, especially as significant as I had, then that's most likely from an injury. All the years of snowboarding, I hyperflexed my ankle so that I could get the knee bend I would need for landing jumps. I was kind of compromising comfort. And even I mean, walking through airports, I'd travel to Europe and do a snowboard competition, and the next day fly to Canada and do a speech, and the next day fly back to Europe and do another competition. I was just going nonstop.
Amy spent 20 years proving that losing her legs wouldn't stop her. And though she couldn't have seen it coming, the breakneck pace at which she was living was threatening her way of life all over again.
When she called me from the hospital, she said, "Mom, I'm scared." And I haven't heard that in 20 years.
Meanwhile, my leg was completely ice cold and purple. I thought I was going to lose the rest of my leg. They ended up bringing me into surgery. Dr. Cooper was able to remove the blood clot in my thigh, but not from the knee down.
This was no simple deal, something we have to fight through.
I'm used to doctors saying, "Oh yeah, we got you, we can fix you, let's bring you to surgery." And this was the first time I ever went through doctors saying, "We can't help you, we've done all we can do." I think the thing that was so challenging is that it was just time would tell what would happen to my leg. Would it kind of get better where I could wear a prosthetic again, or were they gonna have to amputate further up? Those 5 months, I lived in chronic pain, major fear, major anxiety. And I went on this journey trying to prove to these doctors how healthy I was and what I needed to get back to. I was just on a mission to find somebody to help me. I met Dr. Mubarak for the very first time. He was like, look, I have no problem getting you into surgery tomorrow. Let's see what's going on. He goes, if we have to just plow through arteries, we'll do that. Sign me up. This is exactly the guy I need.
I don't think other physicians were wrong. I just say, you know, I don't think they realized exactly your level of activity. I get it. The idea of just going immediately to an above-knee amputation is very painful. That's your popliteal right behind your knee, and you still have good flow. Now this vessel is much larger, and you're forming all of these collaterals.
I just think it's incredible what the human body can do. My body, like, creating new arteries and bypassing injured areas.
Unbelievable. I mean, it is a miracle. Now we got to work with Zach and just build the best prosthetic you can.
Fold those up.
Hi, Sayla. How are you?
She's seen your videos.
Are you
Dancing with the Stars? She loves it.
What was your name?
I'm Karen. I'm her mom.
Oh, good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Sayla, do you want to put your name on it and
Yeah,
sign
yeah.
it?
Will you put your... Okay. Yeah, sign your name.
Sayla was really excited to meet you.
Kids are so adaptable. You know, they just figure it out. So many parents get concerned about, like, how their kids are going to do things, but really their kids show them the way, you know? Like, this is how you get it done. Thank you so much. Aww. Yeah, let's do it. No dream is too big.
There we go, look at that.
Wait, oh good, the ankles.
Height's good.
I don't know because I haven't really stood in both.
Okay.
I'm just a little bit nervous to stand right now. I mean, I really have taken my time. It's like, if my leg feels good, then I'll put this on. Because I just don't want to put my legs on and try to take a step and feel something weird and get discouraged. I have a game plan, and my game plan is not to stand until I bike for a while. So I'm like sticking to it.
So the idea with the bike, you'd build up better collateral
Yeah, yep, and just
blood supply.
Yep. I just don't want to put any weight on it right now. It is pretty loose, so I just don't want to get discouraged. Like, my right foot feels like a part of me, an extension of me. Right now, my left foot feels like it's not a part of me. It's like, I'm like really detached from it. It's interesting.
I haven't worn it in a long time.
Yeah, that's what it felt like at the beginning, you know, standing in prosthetics and trying to walk. Like, you don't know what to trust and like what they're going to feel like, and it's just like starting over again. Oh, this is actually really good. This would be a great workout. Yeah.
Definitely. You're
And
probably not putting a lot of weight.
I'm not
either.
putting much weight at all. All I want to do is sweat. I haven't sweat for so long. Cleanse my soul.
To watch her go through what she did with this, the amount of pain that she dealt with, the amount of fear that put into her, there was some depression. I felt helpless a lot. You try and stay strong for that person in your life who's going through that.
Makes me want to cry.
Oh, baby. That's awesome. Oh. Good. Oh. It's awesome. Feels good, I bet, huh?
Yeah, feels great. Like, I don't want to leave. I just want to keep working. I like citrus in my mulled everything. Mulled apple cider, mulled wine. I kind of split my life into threes right now. There's like Amy version 1. That was before I lost my legs. And then there's the Amy 2.0, which is living my dreams and traveling the world and kind of setting all these goals and achieving them.
Amy 3.0 actually began with getting knocked down again. When I lost my legs, I needed something to pull me through. So I gave myself 3 goals. I'm never going to feel sorry for myself, that I was going to snowboard again. And whenever I figure this out, I want to help other people do the same. And right now, although I have these goals of snowboarding again and, doing these great things, I have to really just appreciate where I'm at today. And I'll tell you, where I'm at today is a whole lot better than I was 6 months ago. I want nothing more than to walk again. I want to walk my dog. I want to cook dinner for my husband.
You guys have a real love story.
Yeah, I have someone I can come home to and be grounded with and have fun with and be in the moment with. And he's been a perfect balance for me.
Having to walk around in only one prosthetic has definitely been tough for Amy, but it's amazing to watch her adapt. She's just such a special person, and she helps me to grow and be a better person.
Well, Amy and Daniel are soulmates. There's no doubt about it.
I definitely think I've gotten to where I'm at today because of the support that I have behind me. I have such a loving family. That's what's gotten me through so much.
Who would you have been if this had not happened?
I always wanted to be a professional snowboarder. It actually took losing my legs to get there. My biggest loss became my biggest asset. It's not about stepping back into who I was. It's really about stepping forward into who I could be.